Good morning, everyone. It's January 17th, 2021. I'm Eric. Let's jump right into it today. QAnon bears striking resemblance to Bolshevik Psyop from the 1920s known as Operation Trust. Does that sound familiar? Trust the plan? Ever since this QAnon shit came up, me and a bunch of other people have warned that that's exactly what it is. A psyop. We will call it a neo-Bolshevik psyop. Is my computer going to cooperate with me? Alright. So, Operation Trust was a Bolshevik counterintelligence operation run from 1921 to 1926, aimed at neutralizing opposition by creating the false impression that a powerful group of military leaders had organized to stop the communist takeover. And it is my thought that that's what the entire Trump administration really was about, was to neutralize the opposition to these communists that we have embedded in all aspects of our government. Here's an excerpt on the trusty operation from, and I'm not going to go through that whole thing, but a Soviet defector, Anatoly, and I'm not even going to try, New Lies for Old. But I will go down here. Well, let me show you the comparison here, that they could act as channels for disinformation. A characteristic but not unique example of this technique is provided by the so-called trust operation. In 1921, as the NEP was being launched, the OGPU created inside Russia a false anti-Soviet organization, the Monarchist Alliance of Central Russia. Former members of this organization, among them czarist generals and members of the old aristocracy, who had come over to the Soviet side, nominally led the movement. Their new loyalty to the Soviet regime was not in doubt, for they had betrayed their former friends in the anti-communist underground. Now, similarities with the QAnon Trust the Plan psyop are remarkable. One of the more disturbing aspects of the QAnon online Trump-based pacification hoax is that while it claims to be fighting the deep state, the permanent security complex, it promotes the rendition of Edward Snowden and CIA regime change in Iran. And it did. They did. And there are so many people out there that put their hopes and trust into the plan. QAnon pushes for regime change in Iran, mirroring long-held CIA, Mossad, and neocon goals. Operation Trust was a counterintelligence operation of the State Political Directorate, or GPU, of the Soviet Union. The operation, which was set up by GPU's predecessor Cheka, ran from 1921 to 1926. Set up by fake anti-Bolshevik resistance organization. Basically, it was designed to figure out who was who would be resistant to the takeover. Now, I don't have, I haven't seen any pictures, or anything like that, but I keep hearing chatter about China having us surrounded. I do have my doubts regarding this, but I would be an asshole if I didn't mention it and it turned out to be true. The one Western historian who had limited access to the trust files, John Costello, reported that they comprised 37 volumes and were such a bewildering welter of double agents, changed code names, and interlocking deception operations with the complexity of a symphonic score that Russian historians from the intelligence service had difficulty separating fact from fantasy. Does that sound familiar? Here we are in 2021 facing that very same thing. People are having difficulty separating fact from fantasy. And that sounds like the Confucius-style nonsense that Q put out. Is General Flynn our General Brochel? I'm not even going to try it. Not even going to try. And I think probably is. General Flynn has been pushing the QAnon shit. So, where's this going to lead? What's going to happen? And is my theory, my thought maybe, that probably we too are facing the very same kind of Bolshevik purge that Russia had back then. QAnon made Trump supporters who were right to be angry over the criminal nature of our ruling class delude themselves with fantasies that white hats in the military were going to save us, while Attorney General William Barr was busy covering up the Jeffrey Epstein case, and the Kushner administration was busy pardoning fraudsters who donated to the LF Institute and releasing traitor John Pollard from parole to make him Aliyah in Israel, and I'm not really sure. I don't know all these words. I have not seen them before, but to make him some big deal in Israel, in other words. Donald Trump condemned his own supporters and called for them to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, just days after he chose to pardon the king of Medicare fraud and release traitor Jonathan Pollard from parole. And I'm guessing these are the two people they are referring to. Or maybe he's one of them. And didn't you guys get worried when Trump began condemning his own supporters? They had been stringing you along and stringing you along just to pacify you. Just to make you think everything was going to be okay. And I hate to break the news to you, but everything is not okay. Everything's not going to be okay. We are in serious fucking trouble, people. And the longer you cling to this notion that somehow, some way, Donald Trump or anyone else is going to save you, you're fucked. Might be fucked anyway. Might be too late. They probably already have all the pieces in place. I mean, after all, we did give them an additional 4 years on the premise some fucking asshole billionaire was going to fucking save you. Just as opposition were outed and arrested by Operation Trust, potentially dozens of QAnoners were outed and arrested as a result of the march on the Capitol. FBI Director Reyes says more than 100 people have been arrested in connection with the Capitol invasion, and more than 200 suspects have been identified. They go on to say, "We know who you are. If you're out there, and FBI agents are coming to find you." Many of the neocons in our government are the liberal descendants of the Trotskyites. So it's not out of the question they'd pull the same trick twice. This is the Bolshevik Revolution all over again, but with a modern twist: the Internet. This QAnon operation has had some blowback. Q believing Air Force veteran Alicia Babbitt, I think that's how you say it, or something like that, Ashley Babbitt, was horrifically executed in cold blood by a Capitol police officer and turned into a martyr. But the movement has gotten tons of Trump supporters thrown in prison and labeled domestic terrorists. CBS News tweeted, President-elect Biden on whether Capitol rioters should be treated as domestic terrorists. Yes, they're a bunch of thugs, insurrectionists, white supremacists, anti-Semites, and they're terrorists. Domestic terrorists. The Biden administration is now plotting to use the events of January 6th to justify Patriot Act 2.0, which aims to criminalize all dissent as domestic terrorism. Their neo-Bolshevik revolution is almost complete. Now, check this out. Okay, if that doesn't sound dystopic to you, I don't know what it will take. And then the Speaker of the House thanks the men and women of the National Guard for protecting the U.S. Capitol. Do you think the military is going to save you? It's not. They will send the people in the military who are patriotic overseas while this goes on, leaving them powerless to do anything to save their family members. Could I be wrong? Yeah, I could be wrong, but that's not the way it's looking, people. Pelosi just went outside and thanked the troops protecting the Capitol and gave them all her change or challenge, or gave them all their. God damn it. Let me repeat this. Pelosi just went outside and thanked the troops protecting the Capitol and gave them all her challenge coin. Now, it does not require anonymous leaks from secret military intelligence officers to witness the conspiratorial treachery our government is committing out in the open. Here in Spartanburg, South Carolina, people have lined up outside Academy Sporting Goods for guns. I couldn't even get inside of Academy for anything relating to firearms. If you haven't prepared, you better find somebody that who gives a shit about you and come to some kind of arrangement. Anyway, I thought I'd share this with you. I hate to bring you such news on a Sunday, but it is what it is. If people had listened in the first place, back when this bullshit started, none of us would be in this position. But the American people, most of them, are too fucking retarded to understand what's being done to them. Until next time, kill the state, live free.